Okay, here we go. So, how to start and grow a music career? What is the formula for success? Now, first and foremost, the point I want to get off to right away, there is no shortcuts to building a successful music career. Trust me, I've looked and I tried and I failed, and it was cost me a lot financially and cost me a lot in time. And there's just no way to become an overnight success in this business. It's far too competitive. And regardless of what you see in movies, it just is not something that happens. So if you're not aware of this already, and I'm sure you guys already are, building a full-time music career is a difficult and complex process that involves a ton of work. And it takes time, a lot of time. So from a musical standpoint, you have to learn how to be a good musician. If you want to write, you have to learn how to create and write songs. You have to learn how to perform. And then from the business side of things, you need how to learn how to take that your music and sell it and turn it into a business for yourself. That said, in today's music industry, with all the tools and services that are available to musicians, it's more than possible than ever for you to achieve that success. That is, if you actually know the steps and strategies for creating a successful music career. Now, the first question I want to address is, does great music and promotion equal success? Now, in the past, a musician's career path had 3 steps. Step 1, learn to create and perform music. Step 2, you got discovered by a record label, maybe a manager. And then step 3, you sign with that record label or production company or publishing company if you were a songwriter. And this was a time, though, before streaming and downloads, a time when music had a ton of financial value. Record labels actually had artist development teams to help their artists enhance their musical skills, and musicians only had one thing to worry about: music. This was a time when simply getting heard could actually lead to success. Unfortunately, getting your music heard isn't enough to make it into today's music industry. Now, in today's music industry, a musician's career path has 6 steps. Um, you still need to learn and or create music and how to perform it properly so that you can really kind of connect with audiences. So all the musical stuff is still true, but now you also need to learn the business skills and techniques that it takes to sell your music. You actually then have to go through the career building process to create the business around your music. And then once you have that business created, you need to figure out how you're going to make it successful, which we call your unique recipe for success. And then once you kind of crack what that recipe is, you need to work on growing that career until the point where you're generating a full-time income for yourself so you can support yourself full-time. And it's only then that you can really work on then scaling your career to the point where you want it to be. Some people want to keep it small and just kind of work on a local level. Some people are shooting for international success and making millions of dollars. It's kind of all up to you. Now, the hard thing is today music has little financial value, regardless of what streaming services claim. Record labels are no longer looking for musical acts to develop. For the most part, they're just looking for successful acts that they can exploit. And the majority of musicians with full-time music careers are self-employed, even ones that sign with labels. This means, in addition to creating music, present-day artists and bands are also responsible for the creation of their music career. And as I'm sure you're all aware, a lot of them fail in that process. Yet most musicians don't fail because of the quality of their music. They fail because they just don't know how to transform that music into an actual career. And I'm going to try to shed some light on how to do that right now. Now, the first thing that you need to realize is that every single person that pursues a music career is unique. They have unique music, a unique vision for their music career, and a unique personality. And each one of these factors will have an impact on their career path. This means even though every musician's career path is the same, their individual journey down that path is going to vary based on a number of factors, including their artistic vision, their personality and interests, as well as the artistic vision, personality, and interests of their bandmates, if they're in a band, and the personality and interests of their fans. Now, this is important because I want you to understand the complexity behind building a successful music career, because your success isn't going to be solely dependent on creating great music and simply learning how to sell it. Your personality, your personal life is also going to play a big role in the process as well, as will the connections that you make with your fans and the connections that you make with your professional network. Now, with all that I just said, there are three key factors that will affect your career progression. And we outline and call these factors the three pillars of a successful music career. And they are music, business, and health. And what I mean by that is, from a career perspective, you will need to develop the talent and ability to perform and or create great music. You're going to need the business knowledge, skills, and professional connections to earn a living from that music. You're going to need the physical health to carry out any of your music or business related tasks. For example, if you're sick all the time, not getting enough sleep, or you don't take care of your voice, that's going to limit what you can do on a professional level. And finally, and definitely not last or least, is you need the mental health to overcome the self-doubt and fear people feel when stepping outside of their comfort zone, which musicians need to do constantly when developing their career. Now, doubt and fear, I think, at least from my experience, hold musicians back more than anything else, because every artist will encounter things throughout their career that they don't want to do or they're afraid of. Stage fright, I think, is the most common thing, but some people have a hard time posting on social media. They don't want to practice their instrument. And speaking as a someone that educates musicians on business, most of the time they don't want to learn business. So all these things, if they don't want to do them, really limit their ability to move forward and progress in their career. So it's important that, when you sit down to pursue your music career, that you have some sort of system that addresses both the music and the business and anything that revolves around your health. Now, when it comes to a musician's career path, I define it as a series of steps that an artist takes in the areas of music, business, and health to progress into different or more advanced stages of their professional life. And what that means is that each step in your career path is going to involve a challenge or a combination of challenges that you're going to need to overcome if you want to progress forward in your career. And anytime that you overcome a challenge, you're going to acquire certain attributes that will help you level up towards achieving your career goal. So in this example here, you'll see that there are 6 challenges. There are information-based challenges, and those are challenges that involve learning. So as you're pursuing your career from a music standpoint, you might need to learn how to write a song if you want to be a songwriter. From a business standpoint, you would need to learn how to create a business plan or a career plan for yourself. And from a health standpoint, that just might be learning how to maintain a positive mindset. And every time you learn something, you gain knowledge that you're going to be able to depend on as you progress in your career. When we talk about resource-based challenges, those are challenges that involve actual obstructions. So from a music standpoint, that might be not owning a guitar. From a business standpoint, it might not be having the money to invest in your career. And from a health standpoint, it could be something like having a learning disability. But as you figure out how to overcome each of those obstacles, you will gain assets that you'll be able to depend on as you progress further down your career path. And then there are going to be entrepreneurial challenges. And those are challenges that involve problem solving, which is, I think, what most musicians get hung up on. And those kind of challenges from a music standpoint would be, learning how to perform an engaging live show. From a business standpoint, it could be learning how to effectively sell merchandise online. And from a health standpoint, it might be just figuring out a time to exercise with a busy schedule. But as you learn and overcome each of those problems and figure out the solutions, you gain experience. And again, at least from my standpoint, every time you kind of gain a piece of that experience, you really start to gain, strength in your mind as far as like, hey, I can do this, or hey, I know how to solve this problem. And it helps you to progress and solve future challenges as they come up. Now, there are 3 remaining challenges. Start with talent-based challenges. Now, those are challenges that are physical or creative and require developing a new skill. For example, practicing scales from a music standpoint, contract negotiation if you were trying to do that from a business standpoint, or maybe doing something like practicing yoga. All things that could potentially help you as you move forward, and as you overcome and learn those new talent-based challenges, you gain abilities that you didn't have prior to. And then the next one is relationship-based, and these are challenges that are just simply involve personal and professional networks of contacts. So from a music standpoint, that could be meeting the right bandmate, From a business standpoint, it could be meeting a team member, like a manager or an accountant. And from a health standpoint, it could be meeting a personal trainer or maybe a therapist that will help you kind of maintain a positive mindset. And every single time that you meet someone that you can kind of add to your network, you gain connections that you will be able to rely on, hopefully, throughout the entire course of your career. And last but not least are the psychological challenges. And this is anything that involves self-doubt and fear. I think this is one that hangs up every single musician and anyone that's doing anything that's outside their comfort zone. And then from a music standpoint, that will include things like stage fright, as I've already mentioned. And from a business standpoint, you might be questioning whether or not you should press vinyl and what happens if no one buys it. And from a health standpoint, maybe it's like, hey, I'm too old to start a career. But when you overcome those psychological challenges, you gain confidence. And that's, confidence is a real big thing. I remember when I first started coming up in the industry, when I booked my first tour and kind of got past the fear of doing that, I gained confidence. When I coordinated my first live event for, the Dave Matthews Band, I, gained confidence. It was just, and the more you do that, it just allows you to do more things with ease as you progress in your career. Now, as you travel down your career path towards success, you are going to continually encounter musical, personal, and professional challenges because everybody does. And the way that you're going to reach success is by learning how to overcome each of those challenges, both big and small, because that's what the process actually is. There's no way to get from where you are right now to where you want to be in the future without overcoming a ton of challenges. In short, career progression really only occurs by overcoming the challenges you face and then using the knowledge, abilities, assets, connections, experience, and confidence you gain to achieve your career goals. And that's what we spend a lot of time doing when we work with musicians in our program. Now, I'm sharing this with you for two main reasons. First, I want you all to be aware of these challenges because the faster that you can identify them, the sooner that you can make a plan for overcoming them, which will help you make career progression on a consistent basis. And you can, because I have yet to see throughout my entire career any solution that didn't have a problem. So there's always a solution. It's just figuring out what it is. And the second reason that I bring it up for is it's really common to feel like you're not progressing in your career, even when you are actually making progress. And you need to combat that feeling by acknowledging each and every challenge and obstacle that you overcome and celebrating those wins, because it's really important to do that on a consistent basis, because if you don't feel mentally good and you don't believe you're progressing, it's just going to hold you back, and you really need to believe in yourself that you can and will move forward. Okay, now, as I mentioned, when it comes to developing your music career, you're going to need systems for addressing your music development, your career or your business development, and then your personal development, which again focuses on your physical and mental health. This is not something that you can do all at once, at least not to start. Let's say you never played music before and you wanted to put on a live show. You couldn't just go out and do that. You'd first need to learn an instrument. Maybe you put a band together, rehearse. Maybe you take some voice lessons. You purchase some gear and so on. Meaning, when you're going through the process of developing a music career, it involves breaking down your career into small, manageable tasks, then learning those tasks until you can do them quickly and proficiently. And then you then turn to the next task that you need to learn, and you learn how to do that quickly and proficiently, and so on. And the more that you do that, the more automatic it comes. Like, no one starts off playing an instrument and singing. They focus on one to the point where they can learn it to the point where they can do it, without thinking, and then they add to it. So that's what I'm talking about here. Your career is no different. Now, your first task as a musician is to focus on music, and becoming a good musician to the point where you can play live. And if your aspiration is to write songs, to become, at least a good songwriter. Now, when it comes to MIC and working with us, we don't teach music, although I am starting to work on putting together ways to incorporate that into our program. But when our members do work with us, we do provide feedback on songs. I love to discuss songwriting because I am a songwriter, and our community is really supportive in that way. So, it's a really key element, but the main thing here is you need to make sure that you have all of your musical needs covered. Because if you're not taking care of your voice, if you need voice lessons, if you need to learn how to write a song, before you can even launch your career, those things need to be somewhat in place before you can progress on to the actual creation of your career. And again, I'll stress the fact that it's really, you either need to be able to perform covers or, original songs, or you need to be able to write. And I say, the bare minimum is writing, or the bare minimum is performing a cover song, because you can go out and play cover songs and earn a living as a musician at weddings, corporate events, and so on. Now, as you encounter your health challenges, again, you need to have a system set up for that. I was in therapy for years. It helped out a lot. I also worked with life coaches. That helps out too. If you have a learning disability, if you have attention deficit disorder, I do. Like, you have to address all those things because they really will hold you back. And, you know, at MIC, I'm not like a licensed therapist, although I give pretty good advice, and you guys can, hopefully attest to that. But I am actually had just admitted our first licensed therapist into our community, so we are working at ways to address that as well. Because again, I think this is the number one thing that holds everybody back. Even myself, sometimes, like, I'm super positive and I feel really good and I'm confident and I have a ton of experience, but I'm still working at growing a company that isn't, a blow up success, and I'm still learning the needs of my members and how to make it successful. And I have good days, and I have days where I feel horrible. I mean, it's always ups and downs. So it's really important to have systems to take care of that, because you can easily self-sabotage yourself. And I see it with a lot of our members all the time. And then the last thing that, again, you need to have a system in place for is the business aspect. And that's really where we hopefully shine and what we focus in on. Now, when we work with artists, in the past, or even currently, we've had a self-guided program that allows members to go through guided lessons, and we will continue to have that, as it's a, great for anyone that really has, wants to kind of sit back and kind of take their time going through it. It's also a lot more cost effective than hiring, a professional to kind of educate you or work for you. That said, our new career development program, we get a little bit more hands-on. So we will still teach you the business skills and techniques that you're going to need to sell your music and earn an income. But then I'm getting a lot more involved in actually guiding our members through the process of that career development. And we're still, provide everyone with the resources and help they need. But I'm, working as an overall organization to expand what those services are. As I mentioned, like, we're working on music stuff, business contacts. And I'm really exploring, every single time one of our members hits an obstacle that, even though we might be able to advise on what needs to be done, if I can kind of go out and find a professional contact or utilize my label in some way to, make inroads for our artists in our program, I'm currently working on doing all those things. In addition to that, what we also do at MIC is we actually help musicians with the process of building their career. And I think the main thing where we kind of lead into, and I think the main focus of our program, our expanded program now, in addition to getting you kind of set up with all the pieces you need in place to be successful, is figuring out what your unique recipe for success is. And that's where a lot of experimentation and trial and error kind of comes in. And I think that's where it's extraordinarily helpful to have an experienced career counselor like myself, or some sort of other expert that really knows what they're talking about to help guide you through that process. And last but not least, what we also do is then we help our members grow to the point where they have full-time music careers. Now, the music industry obviously is a very competitive space, so I never recommend just creating music and releasing things and figuring it out afterwards. You really need to have a plan and strategy for being successful. Otherwise, you're just going to get lost in the noise, like most musicians do. Now, most of you guys have worked with me or have taken our program, or at least have had conversations with me or attended these events before. But just to reiterate that having a plan serves two purposes. First, it helps you to understand all the things you need to have and all the things that you need to do to build your music career. And second, it allows you to plan out a strategy for getting and doing all those things. So if you want to, I don't know, have a YouTube channel, the process for actually setting that up, creating the videos, and for growing your subscribers. If you want to go on tour, there's a process for booking venues, developing a budget, promoting shows, and so on. If you're a songwriter, you have to learn how to write songs. You need to figure out how you're going to network and make connections, maybe find an agent. You got to learn how to pitch your song and how to send it in a reputable way. So there's lots of different things that you need to do. And success comes when preparation meets opportunity, which is why creating an overall plan for your career is essential. Now, I've seen artists play shows and not collect a single email. I've seen artists miss out on press coverage because they didn't have a press kit when a reporter reacted or asked for one. And you just can't do that in this industry because sometimes you only get one chance at the opportunity. Again, I'm not saying it'll make or break your career because I don't believe that one thing makes or breaks anyone's career. But if you have an opportunity, you want to be prepared for it and you don't want to miss out on it because you didn't do your due diligence prior to. So when opportunity crosses your path, you need to be prepared to capitalize it. And that's what your business plan helps you to do. Now, this diagram is a diagram of a musician's career plan, which we call an artist canvas. Now, I'm showing you this because it clearly displays all the aspects that make up a musician's career path. The focus of a musician's career plan is essentially the relationship between an artist and their audience. You can also say it's between the artist and their customer. So let's say if you were a songwriter, you might not be targeting so much audiences as you might be targeting, music supervisors. Or if you were an artist and you want to target sponsors, then your customer wouldn't be artists, it would be different brands. So depending on who people are, it's really what a musician's business plan focuses around is relationships. Now, on one side of the canvas, then you'll see that we have you and your music, and on the other side is your audience or your customer. And then in between are the people, activities, and resources that are used to build and maintain your relationship with those people. And then on the bottom is your cost for maintaining that relationship and how much income you earn from it. Now, as I mentioned before, you and your music are unique. So when you look at this canvas, you need to really look at each section as a piece to a puzzle. And your primary job will be to discover all the pieces that will make up your music career. For example, if you hate posting on social media and just absolutely refuse to do it, then your career plan might include engaging with fans at live shows or building a private community on a service like Patreon, where you can engage with them. Or if you find you're not growing your audience at bars and clubs, then you might want to target alternative gigs like festivals or house concerts. Or if you work 2 jobs and only have 6 hours each week that you can spend on your music career, then your career plan would need to address your limited schedule. In short, every one of your unique musical interests and personality traits will create a unique set of challenges and or opportunities for you. So you need to have a plan that actually addresses those challenges. Now, at MIC, we create a career plan for members of our new artist development program. This process starts with them filling out a extensive questionnaire so we can assess where they're at in their career and get a clear understanding of what their goals are. And for musicians that don't have interest in private coaching or maybe can't afford the cost of that, we have a whole system that walks people through that career plan process so that they can do it on their own. That said, a career plan is not something that is going to be set in stone. The really, I think, unique thing about our program and our way that we handle planning for someone's career is that we have a flexible system, meaning that every career plan is going to evolve over time as you learn more about your likes and dislikes and about who your audience is. For example, if your original plan includes touring and you find out you don't want to travel, you might need to make an adjustment there. If initially you plan on only releasing music digitally and then you get constant requests for vinyl from fans, then you will probably eventually choose to press them, which would include figuring out who's going to manufacture it, how you're going to sell it, how to reach the fans, and so on. All these things impact your business plan, but it needs to be successful because, again, it's a learning and discovery process. All right. Now, once you have a plan and you're set up and prepared for success, building a relationship with your fans and or customers is going to be where you focus the majority of your time. And your goal needs to be to build an audience of true and loyal fans, because one true fan is worth more than 1,000 casual listeners or followers. Now, true fans don't just listen to your music, they love it. They don't just like you as an artist, they love you as a person. And they don't just follow you, they fully support your career. Now, A fact about true fans is they typically share both your musical and personal interests, just like your closest friends probably do. But true fans aren't created simply when someone hears your music. A true fan is created over time. This means to build an audience of true fans, you need to develop a system that transforms people from that listener or casual follower into a fan, and then eventually turning that fan into an actual financial supporter, which is done by highlighting both your musical and personal interests to your fans through ongoing marketing, as well as a few other techniques that you can use. Now, to develop this system at MIC, as part of our new program, we are using what is called a top-down approach. And what that means is to market you and your music effectively, we start off by constructing a customer funnel. A customer funnel is a marketing tool that is used to find and create fans. And every successful business has one, doesn't matter what that business is. Now, a customer funnel has three parts: a top, middle, and bottom. The top is where you attract listeners, such as at live shows or YouTube. The middle is where you engage with those listeners and work on transforming them into fans. And the bottom is where you focus on turning those fans into your supporters. And when I say we work from the top down now, I mean to build a successful marketing system for you and your music, we essentially start by focusing on the top of your funnel and developing systems for attract fans, both online and in person. And then once those systems are in place, we focus our attention on creating systems for nurturing and building relationships with your fans. And then finally, we work on developing effective systems for selling your music and developing your revenue streams so that you can deliver your events and products to your fans and earn an income that actually supports you. Now, to break this down into more detail, I am going to discuss the 5 phases of our new career development program. So phase 1 is preparation. Now, before you can start working on attracting an audience to the point where you have a really consistent following, you need to set up a place where you can send the people that you meet. So the first thing that you need to do is set up a basic customer funnel. Now, a basic customer funnel just involves having at least one social channel. Anyone works for engagement, because you need to be able to, again, talk to your audience and communicate with them. You also will need a website with an email sign-up form. And if you didn't want to set up a website right away, you can just use a simple landing page. Most email marketing services like MailChimp and whatnot will offer that kind of platform, or you can even use it on a free service, I think like Wix or something like that. Now, the whole purpose behind having a basic customer funnel is as you start to work on attracting your fans in the future, both online and in person, you want a way that you can reconnect with them again, either through social media or by having their email and being able to directly message them. So that's really important to have that in place. The other aspect of phase 1 of our development program is working efficiently. If needed, and this is complete optional for any member that works with us, we recommend setting up systems that help you work efficiently, because staying organized and maintaining a schedule saves you time. This is, again, completely optional, but from our experience, especially mine, who has ADD and has been, I've had my own experiences being very disorganized in the past, and it caused me lots of headaches. Most people need help with organization and time management. It's just the fact of life, because as your career grows and you get busier, the tasks that you get are going to be a lot harder to do. So it's better to kind of set these systems up to address these problems early on, meaning that it's easier to organize 20 contacts than to have 1,000 contacts and then try to figure out who lives where and what are their interests. You want to have those systems in place prior to. It's also easier to learn how to use a digital calendar when you have a handful of appointments versus dozens or maybe hundreds of appointments. Now, early in my career, I personally never saw the need for a digital calendar, and I always kind of fluffed it off as being ridiculous because I could remember everything. Now today, I literally cannot live without one. I have to schedule everything. Someone wants to do a phone call with me, I don't say call me. I'm like, here's my schedule. Call me between this window. It's just I can't deal with it anymore unless I really have everything scheduled. So it's really important, because as you do get busier and are juggling more responsibilities, the more organized you are, the easier it is. And the more organized you are, the more that you can actually handle. So if you don't want to hire help, and you want to be able to do all these things on your own, it's essential to be super organized. Speaking as someone that runs two different companies with two people, it helps. Now, phase two of our program is, we will focus on attracting fans with our members, both online and in person. So essentially what we do is we work with them and we show them all the different techniques that they can use for attracting their audience, both online and in person. And then what we do is we outline all those different techniques and let them kind of figure out, what do they want to do first? Do they want to focus on attracting fans through live shows? Do they want to release videos on YouTube? What is it that they want to do? And then once we have a couple of systems established where they can kind of get consistent fans, we move them into phase three, which is nurturing fan relationships, which is, the most important part, in my opinion, of this process, because if you want fans to support your career, they need to care about you first. So this process begins with developing your brand. Your brand communicates who you are as an artist and person to your audience. So it includes music-related items like your genre and personal items like your hobbies. Now, depending on how you're attracting your audience, we will provide an assortment of different ways to nurture your relationship with them, from the initial contact where you meet them all the way until they're ready to make a purchase from you. Now, to manage this, you obviously can't be talking to people 24/7. So we have to design certain techniques and ways that automatically accomplish this, and also some manual ways too, because it's important to, especially when you're building your initial audience of your first 500 to 1,000 fans, you want to spend some time getting to know them on a personal level. So there are some kind of manual ways where you kind of white glove and reach out maybe personally just to say hi. Then once you have those, effective systems in place for transforming your followers into fans, and then eventually, hopefully, in supporters, then you want to work towards buying something, having them buy something from you. Now, before I move on to phase four here, I just really want to stress the importance of this. Building a brand can be difficult, especially if you're not really sure, how to present yourself or how you want to present yourself. So I always kind of talk to people and give them the example of, it's like building friends. Obviously, as a musician, you're going to have music things in common with your audience. Otherwise, why would they bother listening to you for it? But beyond that, what things are you going to talk to them about? Are you going to talk to them about your beliefs, your hobbies, your interests? Are you going to talk to them about, the fact that like going for brunches or hikes, or maybe the fact that you worked in the military at one point in time? What are you going to do? We've all been in those conversations with people at bars and stuff like that, where you have everything in common with them and it's a fun conversation. And then those conversations where it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what to talk about next. And what do I do? And then eventually maybe you find something and then you jibber jabber for like an hour. But having those touch points is important for your audience as well. Except in this situation, you're going to highlight, what those are through your social media posts, or when you're talking about something in one of your songs when you're on stage. Okay. Now, phase four of our new program, we will be focusing on earning an income. So after you have a system for attracting a fan and, transforming them into people that actually care about you and your music, you have to figure out how you're going to earn an income from your career. Now, when it comes to earning an income, there are two ways to do it. There are music income streams and non-music income streams. So when we work with anybody, I always recommend, first and foremost, starting up, by setting up passive music income streams like music sales and royalty collection. Once you release your music and it's out there, or once you register your music with performing rights organizations, it's out there, it's making money. Sure, you need to do some promotion and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's going to be on autopilot and it's just going to generate an income. It might be very little, it could be a lot, it depends. But you want to get those things in place, because once they're out there, you can, I don't want to say forget them, but you don't have to really focus that much time on them. Now, once you get your passive income streams up, you want to focus on your primary form of income. Now, for some people, that might be playing live shows. Those are for people that love being out and performing. For people that don't like being out and performing and just like maybe like creating content, a service like Patreon might be your main income stream, because that allows you to create content and deliver it to your fans. If you're a songwriter, that your main income stream might be publishing. So it really depends, but you want to focus on that main income stream first. And then once that's done, when we work with everybody in our program here, we would then kind of expand at some point to create secondary or what we call supporting income streams. For example, if you're playing a live show, a supporting income stream might be merch or getting a sponsor. If it's you're running a Patreon channel, maybe it's merch, a sponsor, or fan experiences, and so on. So that's the music side of it. And then the other thing that we cover in our program is non-music income streams. Very early on, when we were developing our program and we were working directly with artists, we found that many of our artists had other interests like acting, teaching, graphic arts, and even activities like yoga. So if that's you, you want to work that into your overall business, you absolutely can and should. Now, the benefits of this is it gives you additional ways to connect with fans and activities that you can do with them. But it also helps you stand out from other artists and helps you prevent from burning out. So if all you do is music 24/7, even if you love it, trust me, you can burn out from doing music. So if you have other things that you love doing, other things you love working on, I think it's extraordinarily helpful. Also too, outside income streams might bring in more income, especially if you're combining them with something that you're doing from the music standpoint. So we work on establishing, at least a form of income. So by the time you're through the first, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, you have a way that you have fans coming in, where you're actually building a relationship with them, and then hopefully selling them at least, music and maybe some tickets to a live show or something that helps you to start earning, some sort of an income. And then in phase 5, what we zero in and focus in on is scaling. And by scaling, essentially what we do is we repeat this process again until you're earning a full-time income. So we would go back to the attraction phase 2 and say, okay, in addition to live shows, how else do you want to attract fans? Do you want to maybe collaborate with other artists? Do you want to set up a YouTube channel? What is it do you want to do? What feels most natural to you? And then once we work on getting those systems in place, then we figure out, okay, from that pipeline of fans coming in, how are we going to nurture that relationship? So if it is a service like YouTube, maybe in the videos we are including personal messages with links to where they can kind of go to get a more deep dive into who you are and the work that you do. And then from there, we are driving that traffic to a place where, again, you're earning an income. And it'll be obviously different. So once you have your primary and secondary streams up, maybe you want to go into, again, sponsorships, music publishing, licensing, fan experiences. Maybe you want to start developing some of those non-income music streams, but you don't do it all at once. You pick one at a time, you establish it, you get those systems in place. And once you can feel like you can manage it, then you move on to the next one. All right. Now, when it comes to actually doing the work with our members, we've had some upgrades in our program and our overall experience. So if you were to enroll in our program, and this is not a sales thing, this is just letting you know, the career development process for us starts with a kickoff meeting. And that's where we discuss the overall plan for your career, as well as the first steps that you'll take towards reaching your goals. After that, we will meet with our members one-on-one for an hour each month, which can also be broken up into 2 30-minute meetings, depending on what actually needs to be discussed. And then during each strategy session, we will review your progress, discuss any concerns or obstacles that you're encountering, and determine what the next steps you need to take are. And then after each meeting, as shown here in this example, we will send a list of action items to do. So here, if you are working on, let's say, music sales, we would send you information on, how to actually, set up your, release, select your music distributor. We would provide you resources as far as if you want to get extra training on it. We have a lot of training videos. And then if you use anything you specifically need it, like in the bottom right-hand corner of this example here, like resources like your sales checklist or the notes on digital sales that we offer, we would send you all that information as well. And if you were doing this stuff on your own, you would still need to kind of sit down, come up with a plan, figure out what you're going to work on, focus on just that one thing, go and do all the work, figure out how to do all the work. And then once you're done with it, then you figure out the next step. But in this scenario, we're doing that for you. And we're breaking down what you need to do, how you need to do it, and then providing you with the actual instructions for doing it. All right. Lost my slide place here for a second. Okay. And then everything here too is hyperlinked is a key point here. So if you, let's say, clicked on select your music distributor, click here, it would take you to a place in our community, our private community that we have, which I'll show you in a little bit. And that will lead you to a set of instructions, and you just follow those instructions step by step, and you do not need to think about anything else beyond that. Also, too, for people that are interested in it, we now offer us to record sessions. So if you'd like your session recorded, we would record that session, upload it to a hub in your user profile on our website, and you could rewatch that session as needed forever. Now, we also, as I mentioned, have a video library. These are self-guided courses. Our members have taken our self-guided program. This is what those are. We do continually make updates and add content to that. I just added a whole bunch of things recently. But every course has different sections, topics, lessons, notes, and you can essentially, just go in and listen to any kind of deep dive into any topic that we have in our program, and it walks you through how to do that step by step. If you're not taking our self-guided program and you're in our new accelerator program, this is just added bonus stuff. I will always, based on our new program, just tell you what you need to know and tell you what you need to do. Because I found out that we have two types of members that we've worked with: people that love taking online education programs, which are very few musicians, to be honest. Everyone likes taking it at first, and eventually they burn out on it, which is completely understandable. I've taken a lot of courses like that too in our programs, very long. The majority of musicians that I work with have a problem. They want to come, they want to ask the question, they want to be told what needs to be done. That's what this program is. We sit down, I strategize with them, we discuss different options for them. I tell them what essentially needs to be done, give them some options for doing it. They make a decision. I will explain to them exactly what they need to do, provide them with the very specific instructions to do it, and then also send them, the additional information should they want to do it, like a more deep dive into the video trainings. And then as our members work on their action items, they stay connected through our support network called the MIC Support Network, cleverly. And this is a private artist community and workspace that's available for both desktop and mobile, where you can get daily expert guidance and feedback. I'm in here all the time. You can promote your music and shows. You can collaborate on projects with other members and events. You can attend live trainings like this and workshops, and you can get any support that you need. If you have a question, you can ask us. We have weekly office hours, lots of different resources once you're there. Or you can simply connect to us with members, from all over the world. Believe it or not, we actually have members in North America, which includes Canada and the United States. We have members in the UK. One of our members from Germany is here tonight. And we have members in Japan too. So all over the place, so you can just, if you just want to talk with someone, do that, both through video and through messages. Now, our events, again, I mentioned our weekly office hours. That's where you can kind of pop in and just ask us any questions, like the Q&A we'll have here in a little bit. And our workshops and events and all that kind of fun stuff. We do have some guest speakers that come in from time to time, and I'm actually working on making that more of a regular thing. So it's a good place to be to get as much information as you want to get. But again, if you need more direct help, we're there. Now, I've designed our program so that you can do everything on your own and learn everything on your own. And I did that for two reasons. First, because I want to save you guys time and money in the process. So providing you with as many free options as possible, along with step-by-step instructions, and our guidance, I think, does both. Second, as an owner of a music business, you're going to need to know how to manage each aspect of your career. And our program will 100% show you how to do that, whether you're taking our self-guided program or whether you're working with me one-on-one. Now, as far as time commitment goes, when you're developing your career, obviously, the more time you can dedicate to your career, the better. But, most people are working multiple jobs. So if you have a really limited schedule, that's okay. There is a a career that can be built on any schedule. I once had worked with a musician that had 6 hours in their entire week that they could dedicate to music because they had a full-time music school class they were taking and a family and a job, and it was just really tight. And we developed something that allowed them to like perform a show, each week for, an hour. And then they spent their time cutting up the pieces, utilizing it for social media posts, and then they engaged with it throughout the course of the week. So there is a solution to every problem, and that's what we're here to help you to solve. In general, I think when you're building your career, you should start off with a low commitment of maybe an hour a day, or an hour, a couple hours a day, or maybe even a few hours a week if that's all you can handle, and then slowly work your way up. But your goal is to get yourself to the point where you're working a couple hours a day on your career. Obviously, taking time off to rest. You want to have life balance. That's important because you don't want to burn yourself out. And energy is important to maintaining a consistent progression in your career. But it is important to, allow yourself time to work on things. Now, as far as your expenses go for your career, this is the last thing I want to talk about in our presentation here. But our building your music career is not free, unfortunately. It's throughout your entire career, you're obviously going to have music expenses like recording costs and gear. From a business standpoint, you might need to pay money to create merchandise or pay a lawyer to review a contract. And then there are just your personal expenses, which covers everything you need to live on, like rent and food. So, it's building a music career is completely possible. You can generate enough income to where it's your full-time thing, but you need to make sure that you're taking care of all your expenses. And I'm mentioning that because as you go through the career building process, it's a lot of our members will spend money where they don't need to. So I always let them know, if you have an expense and you don't want to spend the money, ask me first, because I promise you, for the most part, I've found ways to do everything for free. The only thing is, building a website, which again, I know there's like Wix, which is free, but I think that's one place where it's important to spend the money a little bit, because having a site on Bandzoogle really allows you to manage your business well. And you want that hub to be there. Doesn't mean you need to spend it right away, but I think that's one investment that is worth it. As is learning. I think that's always a good investment if you work with a song writing expert or a vocal instructor. Those things are just key. You need to be able to do that kind of stuff. That said, when it comes to your music and business expenses, the more you learn, the less you're going to spend. If you want to progress really fast in your career, be prepared to spend a lot of money, because you're going to need to hire people to do things that you just don't have time to learn. If you want to save money, it's worth it to take time to learn. Speaking as a business owner, it is sometimes difficult to kind of let yourself into that learning process. But I've learned a lot of things I didn't want to learn, from, creating an online education program, to doing live streams, to presentations. Most recently, I learned, Google Ads and all that kind of stuff, working with people. But I also had to first and foremost start by letting them kind of spend my budget and stuff on my behalf. I didn't know what I was doing. And it's really frustrating when you're spending money and you have to trust people without understanding how they're spending your money or why they're doing it for. So you really want to know as much as you can possibly know and learn as much as you can possibly learn. I really want to stress that, because it really does help to make sure that you're building a career that you want, and a career that's going to be successful. Even if you wind up hiring people in the future to do those things, you should at least have the basic understanding so that you can communicate what it is that you want them to know. And that's it. Thanks for watching. If you need help planning out your music career, schedule a call to speak with us today. Or you can enroll in our free program called Developing Your Business Plan. The link for both can be found in the description below. And please don't forget to subscribe. Your support really matters and helps us a lot, and we appreciate it. Have a great day.